Hi, in this video I'll help you get to know your car a little better. At the end of this video I've put together a straightforward infographic that summarizes all the key points. Like, subscribe and comment below. It really helps.
All right, so you're here because your Chevrolet's check engine light is on and a scanner spit out the code P113A. Well, in this explainer, we're not just going to define that code. Nope, we're going to decode the message your car is sending and walk you through exactly how to solve it.
So there it is, that glowing check engine light. You plug in a scanner and it gives you this code, P113A. And your first thought is probably, what on earth does that even mean and what am I supposed to do now? Hey, don't worry, you're in exactly the right place. We're about to break this all down.
Okay, first things first. Before we can solve the problem, we have to understand what this code is actually telling us. You got to think of it like a specific message coming directly from your car's brain, and our job, right now, is to translate it.
That message has a name. It's a diagnostic trouble code, or DTC for short. Now, this isn't some random error. It's a very precise clue your car is giving you, pointing you toward the exact system that's having an issue. It's really the starting point of our whole investigation.
And in our case, the message from code P113A is crystal clear. It's telling you that the computer has spotted a problem, specifically with the exhaust gas temperature sensors. You'll hear them called EGT sensors, and it's narrowed it down to sensors number 3 and 4.
So we know where the problem is, but what is the car actually saying about those sensors? What do they do, and what's the specific thing that's making this code pop up? Let's dive in.
An EGT sensor is, well, it's basically a high-tech thermometer for your exhaust system. Its whole job is to constantly measure the heat of the gases leaving your engine. And that data, it's absolutely critical for your car's computer to fine-tune the mix of fuel and air, making sure your engine runs as efficiently and powerfully as possible.
This number right here, this is the smoking gun. The P113A code gets triggered when the engine's computer sees a temperature difference of more than 30 degrees Celsius, that's 54 degrees Fahrenheit, between sensor 3 and sensor 4. A gap that big tells the computer, hey, something's not right here. One of these sensors is probably giving a bogus reading.
All right, so we know what's happening. Now it's time to put on our detective hats and figure out why. There are 4 main culprits, or potential causes, that could be responsible for this code. Let's line up the usual suspects.
Suspect number 1 is the most obvious and, frankly, the most common culprit, a faulty EGT sensor. I mean, over time, these things can get damaged, covered in soot, or just plain wear out. When that happens, they start sending bad temperature data to the car's computer, and bam, the code gets triggered.
Now, our second culprit is a bit more situational. If the car's been sitting with the ignition off for more than 8 hours, the system can sometimes throw this code. Why? Well, because when the car starts up cold, the computer expects both EGT sensors to read pretty much the same ambient temperature. If they don't match up right away after a long rest, it can trigger the code before the engine's even had a chance to warm up.
Culprit number 3 is all about the environment. And let's be honest, this is pretty rare for most of us. The code can actually be triggered if the outside air temperature is colder than negative 60 degrees Celsius, that's negative 76 Fahrenheit. It's an extreme condition for sure, but it is something the car's computer is programmed to watch out for.
And our final suspect is kind of a catch-all, just general engine performance problems. See, if the engine is running poorly for some other reason, like a misfire or a fuel issue, it can mess with the exhaust gas temperatures. This causes the sensors to report that big difference we talked about, triggering the P113A code as a symptom of a deeper problem.
Okay, we've identified our 4 main suspects. Now for the most important part, cracking the case. For each of these potential causes, there's a clear path to a solution. So this table lays out our game plan, but let's add a little more detail. If you're betting on faulty sensors, the fix is pretty direct. Replace them. Usually you'd start with the one giving the crazy reading. If the code popped up after the car sat for a long time, your first step is super simple. Clear the code and just see if it comes back after a normal drive. If it does, then you start looking at the wiring. And if you think it's a bigger engine issue, don't just check performance. Look for other trouble codes that might point you to the real root cause.
So there you have it. You're no longer just looking at some confusing code on a scanner. You actually have a roadmap. Let's just quickly run through the key takeaways one more time to guide your next steps.
Remember these 4 things. 1. P113A means your car is flagging a problem with its exhaust gas temperature sensors 3 and 4. 2. The trigger is that temperature difference of more than 30 degrees Celsius between them. 3. The causes can be as simple as a bad sensor, or they could be a sign of a larger engine issue. And 4. And this is the important part. Each of these causes has its own clear path to a diagnosis.
You started this whole thing with a check engine light and a mysterious code. But now you have the knowledge to translate that message. You've got the list of suspects and a guide for investigating each one. You've officially decoded what your car is trying to tell you. So the only question left is, what's your first move?